people. Many of you know that Kevin Samuels just passed, and it's been. I consider it sad. I think it's sad when anybody dies, and so Kevin passed yesterday, and that was kind of a big conversation. Everybody had a lot to say. Last night we did about an hour and 15 minutes with a group of very intelligent Black people to discuss the legacy of Kevin Samuels. You know what Kevin meant to people, the good and bad, and also the nature of some of his commentary. And I think Kevin would appreciate a conversation like that because Kevin, if whether you like him or not, you have to agree that he was a tell it like it is kind of person. I don't think he would want too much sympathy in his death. I think that he accepted the life that he chose, and that's just what it is. And so we talked about the good, bad, and ugly of Kevin Samuels, and also the reactions, right? The reactions that we saw. We saw some people that are literally still celebrating his death, which is to me that's just that doesn't sit right with my soul at all. I can't celebrate the death of anybody, even if you were my enemy. I can't celebrate that. But then but then there are people that that feel that they have a different opinion and show the proper respect and etc. Now, here's what's interesting. So I wanted to share something with you guys that I received from Lioness Crowned. This is some new information that I just saw, and again, it's not verified completely. It's a tweet from a man named Philip Lewis, and this is and he's actually citing what looks like some kind of report or something. It looks official, but we don't know. But here's what the report basically says. And thank you to Linus Crown for sharing this. So they have it says May 5th, Officer Figueroa. So it sounds official. Officer Figueroa, Unit 24005, responded to a call at 297 East Paces Ferry Northeast, apartment 1605, regarding a person injured. Upon arrival, Officer Figueroa observed the fire department engine performing CPR to a Black male unresponsive on the floor of his apartment. I then met Miss Hortensia Alcantara, who identified the male as Mr. Kevin Samuels. Miss Alcantara stated that she met Mr. Samuels last night. So, again, not speculating about this man's personal life, but this is what it's saying. So she says that she met Kevin Samuels last night, came to his apartment, and spent the night with him. Miss Alcantara also said that early that morning, Mr. Samuels complained of chest pain, and she attempted to help him, but he fell on top of her and she proceeded to notify 911. Miss Alcantara also said she requested the 911 operator to contact the front desk for a defibrillator to keep Mr. Samuels responsive until Grady arrived because she is a nurse. Grady Bus 741. Mr. Samuels was later transported to Piedmont Hospital by Grady Bus 741. So it sounds to me like, based on this report, and it looks pretty official. It's got details, the name of the officer that responded, addresses, everything. All this can be verified, of course. But basically, it's saying that Kevin Samuels, the way he died, he met a woman, they slept together that night, and he had a heart attack. In her presence. So I'll ask the honest question. In the spirit of Kevin Samuels and honesty, how many of you are a little bit disturbed by what you just heard? Like, how many? Give me a yes or no if any of you are a little bit disturbed by this. Um, I'm disturbed by it, and let me tell you why I'm disturbed. Two things. Kevin was 57. I'm not as old. I'm not Kevin's age. I'm 51, and this reflects on why I chose to get married. Two things. First off, I understand a little bit about the life of a Kevin Samuels. I've been very influential on the internet for a while. Not bragging, it's just true. I go around the world, and it's a real ego trip. You go around the world, people are buying you free food. Women think you're handsome and they want to get next to you. Opportunities emerge everywhere. You get a lot of respect, appreciation, and admiration. The people that dislike you, they're out there, but that doesn't matter because you have a lot of people that love you. Um, and one of the things that I observed, and this was something I started experiencing when I was in my early 30s because I had a PhD. I was in that high value man category that Kevin talks about, where he talks about high value man, high value woman. I was 31 years old making $115,000 a year. You know, I was, and I had a PhD. So I would have been defined on the superficial level to be a high value man in that regard. But here's what's interesting, right? So as I became more known, more opportunities started coming, more women started popping up, situations were coming, and I enjoyed it a little bit, you know, I mean, within moderation in my 30s and part of my 40s. But then when I got about 45, 46, I had I got tried to get a life insurance policy, and my blood pressure was like through the roof. And the lady, the black nurse, who's a very nice lady in Atlanta, right where I believe Kevin died in Atlanta. He lived in Atlanta. I was in Atlanta when this happened. She was basically kind of like, black man, you better change something or this is gonna be bad. You know, this is not gonna end well for you. And that was kind of a reckoning, right? It was a reckoning that even though I could have kept living like I did in my 20s, I was approaching a new stage in life where and I remember thinking, if I die, you know, and Kevin had this whole conversation about dying alone. That was a big thing. Like Kevin said, he has a lot of videos that has the term dying alone. I said, I really don't want to die alone. And dying alone didn't just mean possibly being alone. Dying alone means maybe dying in the company of a woman who does not care about me at all. You know, dying in the presence of a groupie who met me and wanted to sleep with me because she wanted to be next to Boyce Watkins, right? Believe me, they're out there. You wouldn't think scholars have groupies, but if you're a powerful, successful, famous man, you always have the quote unquote groupies. I don't know what the logic, the psychology is behind it, but it existed. And I said, I don't want to die in the arms of a woman who doesn't know me, doesn't care about me, who sees me as a burden, who won't go to the hospital with me. I want to be next to my wife. I want a wife who's going to cry next to my bed. I want a wife who's going to fight with the nurses to make sure I'm getting the best care. I want a wife who's going to make sure that when they put me under, which I eventually had to do when I got dental surgery, they had to put me under. I enjoyed having a wife who was out there protecting me when I couldn't protect myself. Now, again, this is not on any way a diss on Kevin Samuels. This is not a diss. This is honesty. Like, Kevin would appreciate this. Kevin would enjoy this discussion because Kevin was an honest man in life. You say what you want about him, but you can't say he wasn't honest about what he felt. So I think Kevin would appreciate this discussion. And this is I would never hate on a dead man. That is not what I'm saying. This is really me loving toward young men to help them understand that there's a lot of ways to kind of look at this game that goes deeper than just judging who you keep company with by how big her booty is or how pretty she is or whatever. The definition of a high value woman is about eight layers deep. Do you understand what I'm saying? Give me a yes if you get what I'm saying. Give me a yes if you can hear what I'm saying. Even if you don't agree, you can hear what I'm saying and still at least take it in. This high value conversation, the reason that it was tough for me to absorb is because you can't tell me that a man is high value just because he got money. There's a lot of horrible men who have lots of money. There are horrible men who have lots of money, handsome as hell, but ladies, they will ruin your motherfucking life. They will ruin your life. They will abandon your kids. They will beat your ass. They will steal your shit. Like, why in the world is somebody defined as high value when their morals and ethics are not high value? When the content of their character is not high value? When their loyalty to you is not high value? I didn't want just high value booty cheeks. I didn't want just a high value curves. I'm a black man like everybody. You know, I love a black woman. My wife got the curves. She got all the curves in all the right places. But that's not what made her my wife. That opened the door. My definition, my interpretation, my conclusion that I was marrying a high value woman went down to like me looking and saying, okay, if something happens to me, is she going to show up in a high value sort of way? Right? Or is she, as a mother, is she a high value mother? You know, every day she shows her high value status by cooking for me, making sure I'm good, being there for me, you know. And so what I would say is this: look, when it comes to the Kevin Samuels thing, I really was struck when I read this report on it, how he died. And in case you just got here, I read it in the beginning. You can rewind the video and hear the specifics of the details. So basically, to summarize for those who just came in, he was with this lady. Her name's, it sounds like she has a Hispanic name, you know. So I don't know. I don't know if she's black or his, but her last name is Alcantara. That's her first name. Her first name, it looks like, according to this report. Thank you to Lioness Crown for sending it to me. Hortensia Alcantara. Sounds pretty Hispanic. She sounds like she's Latina. They met that day and were sleeping together that night. And that's when Kevin had the chest pains and died from the heart attack. And the reason that I was driven to do this video and have this conversation, because I know it's very sensitive to talk about someone who just passed yesterday. And I assure you, I'm not here to in any way disparage the memory. I said, I owe it to young brothers to tell them what's down the line when you're no longer 28 years old and just chasing ass. When you get to 38 and 48, you don't want to die in the arms of a one-night stand. That's about like dying alone, to be honest with you. You don't want to be sitting there in your most vulnerable state where you can't move, you can't breathe, you're about to die. And the last face you see is a lady that you didn't even know 24 hours ago. And so as much as we might glorify, I think that there was merit to some of what Kevin had to say. I like logic. I'm a mathematician. Kevin did one video about me. I didn't even know it until he blew up. And somebody showed me a video. He spent the whole episode talking about me and some people that were kind of attacking me. And he defended me very well. And I appreciated that. And I liked it. I watched it. I said, okay, I don't know this guy, but he sounds very smart. He's logical. I like logic. I'm a mathematician. We do logic, right? I'm a poker player, chess player. We do logic. I respect logic. But at the same time, it would be wrong for me to knowing that there are young people that hear what I have to say, for me to not sort of say to you, like, make sure that you have a balance in terms of how you view this whole dating game. There was an episode of the show Martin a long time ago where Martin was like 30 years old and he dumped his girlfriend. He got rid of his girlfriend and he's sitting with some OGs and they're playing poker. And the old guys are like, you got rid of your girlfriend? What happened? He's like, man, I don't need no woman holding me down. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to live my life. She up here telling me what to do up here, trying to blah, 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 whatever, right? And the old guy basically said, you know what? He said, you know what they used to call the old fools? He said, the old fools that are around here, you know what they used to call them? And he said, what? He said, they used to call them young fools. So they used to be young and now they're old and they're alone and they're not happy. And so ultimately, when you're talking about stages of life and stages of dating, we know that there's different levels to this, right? We know that there is that physical level. There is that, I want to get with that pretty girl and I don't want to do much more with this relationship. And I think you have a right to say that. But at some point, there has to be some depth and connection. And it has to be a little deeper than what I'm seeing on the internet. What I'm seeing on the internet is 9 times out of 10, pay attention. There's a couple of contradictions I want to point out to you. 9 times out of 10, men who say they would never, ever, ever mingle or date with a single mother, many of them were raised by a single mother. Many of them created a single mother, right? But yet they feel elevated out of that because they have a little bit of money and they think, well, because of that, I have nothing to do with the plight of a single mother. Well, it takes a single father to create a single mother. Like, you do that together, right? The other thing I would say that I noticed as well on the internet, and I want y'all to pay attention. I think you guys are intelligent. You'll understand what I'm saying. You'll get the nuance here. Is that most of the people who say that we're just holding them accountable, like they say the black women need to be held accountable. Black men need to be held accountable, right? So you got the extremists, you got the gender war with the extreme women, the crazy women who are out here saying that they're happy that Kevin Samuels died. That I don't know what's wrong with you. There's a place in hell for you because you don't do that. You don't talk about a dead person that way. You make your point, but you don't have to make your point by expressing your own trauma. Maybe your daddy abandoned you. Maybe you're mad at men for whatever reason. But I respect that. But talking that way about a dead man is not cool. Right? Then you got the other extreme. You got the men who really say things about black women that should be unacceptable in our community. For anybody who claims to be pro-black, you can't be anti-black woman and be pro-black. You can't hate the tree that gives you the fruit and expect to have a prosperous garden. You cannot hate the black woman and still claim to be pro-black. You cannot hate the black family and still claim to be pro-black. You can't do that. It's not possible because you're voting for your own extinction. So with that said, what I've noticed is that 9 times out of 10, the people who run around saying we just holding them accountable, those are the people who don't want to be held accountable. Those are the people who get pissed off and offended when you hold them accountable. The same man who said, well, we just holding these women accountable. We just holding these hoes accountable. Well, you hold him accountable. You turn the mirror on his raggedy ass and say, well, look at the choices you're making. Look at what you're doing to these women. Look at what you did to your kids. Look at the way you're carrying yourself. Well, then he's going to get mad. His feelings are hurt. He's mad. Right? Same thing is true with the women. They're talking about we're holding these men accountable. Well, somebody need to hold you accountable. And really, you got to remember this. I know some of y'all like what Kevin had to say. Some of y'all don't. I'm not here to judge that. It's your choice. But I think that an intelligent, balanced person can at least take a moment to understand why there were over 1 million subscribers on Kevin Samuels' channel. He had over 1 million subscribers because there are millions of men who don't feel heard, who don't feel listened to, who don't feel respected. And I think that should be acknowledged. And at the same time, I think that men, we got to start listening to women, man. We got some men out here that just really, unfortunately, somebody screwed your head on backward. You got your masculinity from the internet because maybe you didn't have a daddy. Maybe you hate single mothers because your father didn't spend time with you. And you because you feel like you weren't worth anybody's love, that a child who had the misfortune of losing their father is not worthy of love either. And I think that that's separate from exercising your right. You have a right to say, I don't want to date a single mom. Like, that's okay. You have a right to feel that way. But when you're marketing that and using that as an avenue to express vitriol amongst millions of single mothers out here, some of whom helped raise your raggedy ass, like that mama was your last line of defense between you and you being a little damn male hooker getting somebody poking you in the butt every day. Like, without your mama, you would be dead, Negro. How dare you say all these single mothers, or I know these single mothers ain't. What is wrong with you, man? Can't you just express your own wishes without using that as a weapon to make people feel bad about a situation that they probably already feel bad about? And that's where I want you to kind of understand the nuance here. And I hope somebody can hear this. I hope you can hear this. It's not my job to go tell a woman that she's going to die alone, or tell a man that. Kevin Samuels some could say he kind of died alone. He died with a woman he didn't even know, right? So that's kind of like dying alone, right? So men can die alone just like women can die alone. That's important for you to understand. And I will say this is my 2 cents. This is just Boyce logic here. Uncle Boyce is talking. And give me a yes in the chat if it's okay if Uncle Boyce shares this. But look, if you don't learn how to get along with other human beings, you will die alone. If you don't learn, if you are a woman who just is so intolerable that no man wants to be around you more than an hour and a half, you'll die alone. Yeah, you will. And if you're a man running around with this nonsense in the manosphere where all you know how to do is chase a piece of ass and don't know how to form a meaningful relationship with another human being, you're going to die alone. And believe me, it's going to be humiliating when it happens. You know, there's nothing sadder than to see a man who was once strong and proud and masculine and I'm the manosphere, right? And then see him get about maybe 45 years old when your bones start creaking and you start having chest pains and you start having these little physical ailments where shit don't work right the way it used to work. Like, I've seen it. Look, a lot of these guys tired, worn out, 65, 70 years old. Oh, you go back 20, 30 years, they thought they were going to be young forever. And only a smart man can see all the way down to the end of the path. A dumb man only sees what's happening right now. A dumb young man thinks he's going to be young forever. A smart young man realizes that things are going to change, and choosing the right relationships or choosing the right woman to be in your life makes a huge difference in how that story ends for you. My father was a very strong man. My father he's a veteran. He has killed people in his life. He's literally pulled out a gun and shot and murdered and killed somebody. Not murdered them, but he had to kill them out of self-defense. So my father is as strong as they come. My father was he is a guy who didn't care what anybody thought. Very mentally tough. I like to say I get a lot from him. That's why I don't give a damn what a lot of y'all think, right? But I saw my father go from that guy to being the guy that he is now. And now, my father is not what he was in, 20, 30 years ago. And the thing that holds it together for him is that through those years when he could have been off fucking hoes and living his life and getting out, getting busy with jump offs and just doing whatever he wanted, he was sitting next to my mother, and he was pouring into us as his children. So now that he's older, he gets to lean on that. Now he had his birthday party. He had his 72nd birthday party. 70th birthday party about 2 weeks ago. 250 people showed up because he had invested in all of those relationships over time. He had invested in making himself a high quality, high value man by being there for so many people, that when he was a little tired, when he was a little vulnerable, when his best days are kind of behind him, he had a lot of people show up and say, "We got you. We got you." He's not a guy that is expected to die in a hotel room with a woman who might possibly be a stripper or a hooker or something, or at the very least a jump off or a groupie, or definitely a one night stand. I'm not dissing. I'm just telling y'all the facts. I'm just laying it out there like it is. Get mad if you want to, but y'all can't. If you can't debate it with facts, then I'm sorry. I read this report. It said that he met the lady yesterday. She spent the night that night, and then he dies in her arms. When I die, I want to die in the arms of my wife. When I die, I want to die surrounded by people who love me. When I die, I want to die with people around that I'm familiar with. I don't want to die with a groupie. And again, I'm not dissing Kevin. This is not about Kevin. This is really about you. This is about me appealing to any young person who will take a second to hear what I'm saying. You ain't got to agree. Just hear what I'm saying. You must invest in your life, and you must invest in high quality relationships. And high quality relationships are not solely defined by the size of her booty. Find you a lady with a nice booty that's also a good person. That's all I got to say, guys. I hope that this was taken in the spirit it was intended. I'm sure some of you will love it, some of you will hate it. But again, in the spirit of Kevin Samuels, I really can truly say I don't give a shit. I care. If you care, I care. If you don't care, then I don't care. It's totally fine either way. All right, so hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Share, subscribe if you haven't done it yet. Also, don't forget, my wife and I are doing an event. My wife is actually a relationship therapist. This is where I'm getting, some of this inspiration from, because I'm actually learning from her. And it's nice. It's nice being next to a smart woman, by the way. That's actually a benefit. So, guys, when you meet a woman, pay attention to her brain. Like, a smart woman will make you better. And we're doing an event in Chicago on May 15th. So if you want to join us at this event, just go to BoyceWatkins.com, click on events. And also, we have our financial flashcards and the workbooks for children that are now available. So you can also find that at BoyceWatkins.com and just look for the financial workbooks for kids if you want to teach your kids about wealth. So I'm going to interview in a few minutes. I'm going to interview a young brother out of South Carolina who is challenging Jim Clyburn for his seat. And I suppose his name is Marcel Dixon. And I'm going to interview Marcel literally in a few minutes, but I had to jump in to do this quick conversation about the details in terms of how Kevin died, and to give you the learning point. Again, it wasn't to gossip about his life. It wasn't to disparage him in any way. It was really to talk about you and what we can learn from these choices, and how every choice we make or don't make has a consequence. Everything you do and don't do has an input and an output. So the question you must ask yourself every day when you make decisions is, how's this going to end for me? All right. So anyway, have a good day, everybody. Love you. I'll talk to you soon. Take care now. Peace.